Hello again, Joe Stunner Boxing here. Nice to speak to you as always. Thanks for your time. On Saturday, I did a little panel thing with Unrivaled Boxing. You know, one of them live stream things where you get a panel of people. Thanks to Mark for inviting me. Mark at Unrivaled Boxing. If you're not a member of that channel, if you haven't subscribed, go over there and subscribe. It's a great channel. Mark's a good guy. So, yeah, one of the things we were talking about, one of the many things, was about fights that don't get made and what's the reason for it, and are too many fights not being made in the modern era? Is it different from the previous eras, you know? And one of the things that I think doesn't get mentioned enough is really the pure economics of it. Because as someone once said, was it Bill Clinton? It's the economy, stupid. You know, it's the money. People want a certain amount of money. And you have to have, if you're going to have a capitalist model, which this is, it's all got to be, people have got to be paid their worth, not over it. Now, in the last 10 years, we'll start with PBC. They signed up an awful lot of fighters very, very quickly. They bought terrestrial television time and showed free-to-air boxing quite frequently, paid for supposedly with adverts, standard adverts, just like normal terrestrial telly programs. And yeah, it worked for a while. Some of the PBC cards were good. But ultimately, their little war chest of whatever it was it 700 million or something? I don't even know what it was. Got a bit thin. They weren't making any money. So what did they do? Well, ultimately, they had to introduce a different model. And that model, not understandably, but inevitably, is pay-per-view. So nowadays, you want to watch PBC cards, you've got to pay, I don't know, was it $25 or something? I might be wrong about that. To watch Charles Martin fight Luis Ortiz. Now, you take DAZN as another example. I'm not picking on any one particular network. I'm not picking on any one particular promoter. But look at DAZN. They got Eddie Hearn in. Eddie had signed up an awful lot of fighters during his time with Sky and is continuing to do so. And DAZN reportedly have a war chest of about $1 billion, which is a hell of a lot of money by most standards. But again, if you overprice people, it can't go on forever. It's not sustainable. So what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that the numbers crunch and that you're making a profit. The problem is, to get your foot in the door, to get your foot in the market, a lot of the time, these people, PBC, DAZN and certain others, they will overpay fighters. And again, I'm not picking on anyone, but let's take a couple of examples. Let's take Billy Joe Saunders. Got, was it 7 million to fight Canelo? Or Caleb Plant is another example. Got, is it 9 or 11 million to fight Canelo? Were they really worth that amount of money? Because now that they've had those pay packets, you think they're going to go back to collecting maybe $1 million for a fight? No, they're going to want to continue with those big numbers. So when someone mentions to Billy Joe Saunders, Chris Eubank Jr., a rematch, yeah, I'll do that. Give me 5 million quid. 5 million? Are you worth 5 million? Maybe he is. I don't know. Maybe the numbers do crunch. But the point I'm making is that once you inflate the market, and you get fighters used to having these astronomical amounts of money, which they're not really worth, not economically worth, you've created a Frankenstein's monster. Now, let's look at the other end of the scale, the other end of the weight scale. Let's go to the little guys, the flyweights, the super flyweights, all right? Estrada, Sorung Vasai, Chocolatito, even the second tier ones, McWilliams, Arroyo, Cuadras, they got a new guy on the block, and they Rodriguez, who beat Cuadras, you know. These guys fight each other. Not once, but more than once. They have great fights. They're hugely talented fighters, give their all. They win belts, they build a legacy. And they get paid, you know, $1 million or $2 million, whatever it is. But they know that to make money, to make serious life-changing money, they've got to fight each other. There are no shortcuts. Because even though there are the 4 belts, the 4 main belts, you ain't getting much for fighting some obscure guy. You've got to fight each other. At the top end of the tree, from probably the welters, the middles, certainly up to the heavies, there were different belts, but people have got their own little plot in the garden. They can keep it. That's what's happened with Spence and Crawford. It's a no-brainer. They should fight each other, but they've got their own little plots in the garden, or other side of the street and all that crap, and they can make half decent money fighting lesser opponents. So ultimately, their teams, the networks, whatever it is, the promoters can avoid each other. So you don't get the fights. Plus the fact, Crawford was getting, I think it was 3 million a fight with Arum. It weren't enough. I want more. I should be getting the super fights. When people hear super fight, they think, 20 million. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, supposedly men of the people, they get paid, I don't know what it is, anything from 25 to 50 million, 50 million for a super fight. The super fight, of course, would be something like Joshua and Fury. Look at the amount of money that was mentioned for Wilder versus AJ a few years ago, which Wilder unbelievably turned down. Was it 105 million for a 2-fight deal with DAZN? They just want the earth. They want the world. Okay, so who, because this isn't sustainable, because these inflated wages are draining the war chests of these big promoters and networks, in the case of DAZN, a streaming service, an app, who pays for it? Well, like I mentioned, pay-per-view. The man on the street, the woman on the street, they pay for it. They pay large amounts of money. Hence the reason you have, you draw people in like Eddie Hearn did with Cleverly Bellew 2. That's 12 quid or 14, 15 euros, whatever it was in Europe. You come on in, have a few beers, it's only a few quid. If there's a few, you're sitting on the floor, sitting on the sofa. It's a nice boxing for 12 quid. Gradually in your head, you think, oh, that's an option and pay-per-view. And the pay-per-view price inevitably creeps up. 15 quid, 20 quid, 25 quid, maybe 30 quid pay-per-view in Britain for, if it was a Fury AJ fight, something like that. It's big money. In America, they've been doing this for years. They've been fleecing people $100 to watch a pay-per-view for $100, $80, $75, $50's a result over there. Ultimately, for inflated prices, you want to talk about trickle-down economics. Yeah, it trickles down all right. The price trickles down to the fucking people on the bottom, and they have to pay for it. And don't look at me. I'm an old-style socialist. I don't even believe in laissez-faire capitalism. I believe that the government and the democratically elected government of the people should be controlling how businesses potentially, whether they can exploit people or not, and they shouldn't be allowed to exploit people. There should be regulations. There should be restrictions. I don't believe in free trade. I believe in fair trade. And at the moment, it's trickling down to the people at the bottom. Pay-per-view, astronomical prices. And would Fury and Wilder, would Fury, Joshua, Wilder, would it, certainly with Fury and AJ, would it kill them if they only got paid 15 million quid instead of 50? Have they been underpaid? Look, people talk about fighters and they say fighters deserve everything they get. Look, I'm not here to say fighters are not warriors and they don't deserve to earn life-changing money. They do. But if you allow this economic Frankenstein's monster to carry on, you will kill the goose that laid the golden eggs, to mix the analogies. You've got this goose, it's laying golden eggs, and you're eating it a bit at a time. You've got to stop. In a capitalist system, and it is a capitalist system, you have to abide by the market value. Otherwise, it inflates the market and everything gets smashed to bits. And we all suffer, particularly the people at the bottom. So those are my thoughts. I could go on about this for a lot longer, but I think I've probably ranted enough. But let me know your feelings. Leave me in the comments below. What do you think? What do you think's the solution? I never buy pay-per-view. I always stream things, unashamedly so. I'm not getting involved in that shit. You're not fleecing me. And with modern technology, I will use modern technology to watch fights, quote unquote, illegally or on illegal streaming. So I don't give a fuck. Probably these people haven't even paid their taxes. Never mind overcharging for their product to pay their clients inflated wages. Don't look at me. I'm not paying for it. So my advice is stream it. Boycott pay-per-view. That would be a good start. Very good start. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think. You may agree or disagree with me. Thanks for your time as always. I always appreciate your time. And I'll subscribe to the channel, Joe Stunner Boxing, if you could. Don't forget Unrivaled Boxing as well. Great channel, run by Mark, lovely fella. Subscribe, hit the like button. Have a nice day, and I will speak again soon. Much love to all of you.